Hello there. We are live. It is 4:32. So when I say live at 4:30, sometimes there's a delay. Listen, we've got a big thing to cover here. We're talking about your credit score. As you can tell by the graphic behind me, we are talking about credit scores, what to do to maybe a few things to raise them, what they mean, how they're calculated. The idea is this: the more educated you are about your credit score, the better or lower interest rates that you'll get for loans going forward. And since throughout our lives, virtually every one of us will be borrowing consistently, be it through leasing automobiles, buying a home, second home, next home, third home, vacation home, whatever it is, we use debt to purchase things. And then there's credit cards. So it's super important to know all about your credit score, how it's calculated, what goes into it. And basically, when you know these things, you are more likely to be better with your money. That's what the show is all about. So, welcome to a live episode of Be the Boss of Your Money, because I want you to be the boss of your money, not your money to be the boss of you. And then we're going to do a quick market update with perspective. So let's just roll the intro. And then we're going to take a deep dive into this. You're going to want to stick around for this, folks. There are some knowledge nuggets that I'll be dropping. Welcome to Be the Boss of Your Money. I'm Mitch. I'm a financial advisor with decades of experience dealing with all kinds of situations on behalf of clients, from personal finance, investing, you name it. I've seen a lot in 30 years, and I see more and more. But what I learn helps me become better for every situation, following every situation that I've been through. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. So anyway, the more I do, the better I am for you, for my clients, and that's what this is all about. So I want to share my knowledge, my nuggets, my wisdom. I want to share the stuff with you and make you better with your personal finance. And that's what this is about. Today we're talking about credit scores. Again, my name is Mitch. If you have any questions, you hit me up in the comments. Please, I love it when you ask me questions in the comments. Words of wisdom, words of encouragement are always appreciated. And if you're watching this in the replay, welcome to you as well. Ask questions as if you were watching this in the live, because I will be checking for those. Let's do a quick share screen, because it's how we start every episode. What I want to do is give you an update, but with perspective. We're going to go through this pretty quick. It was kind of a ho-hum day, which is fine. I've been saying by the way, I'm over here in the side over here, right here. Here we are. Okay. I've been saying all along that, in my live streams, that I like the slow days, the days where the major averages don't move a lot. I don't like these up 500, 600 point days, because they're often followed by down days that are just as big. And then what we get is a lot of volatility, up 1,000, down 1,000, up. It's what I like is smaller moves. Let's level it up a little bit with regard to the market averages. It gives us a little time to step back and think. It's very important to be able to think. If you want to make better investment decisions, you need to think about them. You need to know what you're trying to achieve. So you need to know yourself. Listen, the most important thing to know about personal finance is to know yourself. And I can tell you this, I can tell a lot about people based on their personal finance, based on the intake that I do with them, and based on their credit score, their tax returns. It's amazing how well you can get to know somebody when you see them through a personal finance lens. The Dow is off 135, no great shakes. S&P off 10, 11 points, no big whoop. Is that a technical term? No big whoop. NASDAQ down 0.73, no big whoop. Russell 2000, which was up 3.5% yesterday, the standout winner of the major averages, is off 0.72% today. No big deal. And the VIX, it was barely moved. The VIX, you see that green there, up 0.24, 0.86%. That's a very small move for the VIX. So the VIX remains under 30, barely went up today, even though most of today was a down day for stocks. So that means that the VIX is like a worry gauge, a fear gauge. People aren't, professional traders, investors, they're not worrying so much about stocks. They probably like a lot of what they see. We've had some pretty good news on the vaccine front from a company called Moderna, and a very small trial of 45 people. 100% of the people in the trial have shown a very strong response in terms of antibodies that could neutralize COVID-19. So that's very encouraging. But now they have to do the real test, like 30,000 people, and check to see if it actually works. So let's move on. Just keep going. I want to keep this going. Here are the industrials. Today was a really good day, even though the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down. Today was a pretty good day for the industrials. FedEx was up, Johnson Controls, Wabash, Cummins Engines, ABB, Northrop Grumman, Honeywell, 3M. Not a bad day. What was down? Take a look at the bottom here. Airlines, Boeing, United Rentals was off, GE was off, Emerson, but more up than down. Let's take a quick look at the FANG stocks. Giving it back a little, okay? Facebook up a fraction of a point. Apple down over 1%. Amazon off a fraction of a percent. Netflix up a tad bit. Google off a little. Microsoft off a little. 2%. I'd say that's a little bit more than a little for Microsoft, down almost 2%. So that's a big some big moves there. But overall, today was a fairly tame day, and I always look at the sector ETFs. Utilities, which you don't want to see. Utilities was the standout mover of the day, the biggest performer. Interest rates continue to stay low and confounds everybody. If we're getting a V-shaped recovery and the market's recovering and the economy could recover, why the heck aren't interest rates going up? That's what we're always trying to figure out. Interest rates should have been up, and we would have liked to have seen that. So consumer staples were up a little bit. Industrials were up a little bit. Financials were flat. Nothing terrible. Technology was off, but technologies, I just showed you some of the big tech names. It makes sense that technology stocks have benefited disproportionately from the shutdowns and social distancing and the economic ruin, while all the other sectors suffered. So now money looks like coming out of the tech stocks and heading into other sectors, sort of a catch-up play and a reopening play. So you have the screen stocks, work from home, stay-at-home stocks, versus the reopening play, the more cyclical type of stocks. So overall, quiet day. It's really not much to say. I like a good quiet day once in a while. So let's stop sharing the screen and let's get into, I want to talk to you about your credit score. Okay. So if you have any questions, ask away. I'm in the mood to answer questions. I love answering your questions. I love making this a two-way conversation, okay, that as opposed to just one-way, as opposed to one-way dialogue. But there are a couple of things that you need to know about your credit score, and if you can figure these out, and I'll tell you what they are, so you don't have to worry about doing the research. I did it for you. You could improve your credit score. The next time you want to borrow money, buy a vacation home, buy a bigger home, whatever it is, you want to refinance, maybe get better credit cards, you're going to want a higher credit score to do all of these things. This is a fact of life. We all are on some form of borrowed money. There's a handful of people that can do everything on cash and carry, but for the most part, we borrow even for mortgages, right? So, and you buy a building, you buy commercial real estate. Sometimes you need usually you need a personal guarantee, and your credit score is important there. And if you want to rent an apartment or rent something or lease a car, you do need to have a decent credit score for that too. So payment history is the biggest part of your credit score. It's 35%. And the payment history just basically means, do you pay your bills on time? Are you making the minimum payments? More, I guess, 30-year fixed mortgage doesn't have a minimum payment. It's got the payment. You're welcome to prepay these, but are you making your minimum payments, whatever your credit lines are? That is the biggest thing, that you pay your bills on time. The next thing is your credit utilization. That's 30%. So about 2/3 of your credit score, these two things. Credit utilization means if you have credit cards and lines of credit, home equity loan, home equity line of credit, HELOC, did you max those out? Like, are you, if your credit line is for $100,000 and you're borrowing $100,000, you've got 100% credit utilization rate. What the credit scoring bureaus like to see is a low utilization rate, under 30% with your credit cards, home equity line of credit, that sort of thing. They're not really going by your mortgage. It's just expected that your mortgage is whatever it's going to be, and slowly but surely, you typically would pay that down. So the next thing is length of your credit history. That's 15%. You know, the longer your credit history, the better. Obviously, you're young, you have a pretty short credit history. It behooves you to apply for a credit card when you're young. I'm not saying don't use it responsibly. I'm just saying you want to establish credit when you're young. I established my first credit cards when I graduated college, which was 1989, and my Amex still says member since 1989. So it's a pretty long credit history that I have, and that's very important. So you want a long credit history. The longer, the better. If you're younger, don't worry about it. Just get started. I think all businesses and lenders understand that if you're young, you're going to have a shorter credit score, but it's important. So as soon as you can, get one. Now, I want to just do a quick little myth buster here, okay? Carrying a credit card balance for the sake of showing credit history does not actually help you. It just means you're paying a lot of interest to carry the credit card balance. Having a credit card, using it, and paying the balance off in full is the best thing for a credit card holder's credit score. Carrying the balance and paying it off, minimal payments for, like, say, 6 months and then paying it off, that does not build your credit. It doesn't build your credit muscles, and it doesn't like show this person's responsible. She's done a great job paying off that bill for 6 months. No, just pay it off. That carrying a balance will not help you. Okay. The next thing is the credit mix. So you could have credit cards, you could have mortgage, auto. You want a diversified mix of loans. So the credit scoring agencies, whether if it's Transamerica or TransUnion or Equifax or the others, they look at credit cards as the worst debt you could have, and then automobiles, and then mortgages. Mortgages are the best credit, the best kind of open line of credit that you could have. So they don't look at everything the same. And then there's new credit. Now this is kind of a funny one. There's some pluses and minuses with new credits, like getting a new credit card, what have you. When you get a new credit card, the average age of your credit history becomes lower, just because of simple math. But the good thing about getting a new credit card is that, and if you carry credit card balances, your credit card utilization rates will go down. Because let's think about it. If you're 100% maxed out on a credit card, and then you get a new credit card that has nothing on it, and they're both for the same amount, that you could get the same amount of credit on each one, the same credit limit, then you've just have an average of 50%, credit utilization instead of 100%. So getting new credit is a double-edged sword. But I mean, I wouldn't not get a credit card if you find a credit card that is desirable for you, that meets your needs, that it's better than other credit cards that you have, more points, whatever, and you're going to use credit cards to pay for things. There's nothing wrong with using a credit card, in a smart, responsible way. I certainly wouldn't stop shopping for a mortgage or something because I don't want to get a house because I don't want to ruin my credit score. No, getting a mortgage and paying your mortgage off month after month, that actually helps your credit score. Okay, as opposed to carrying a credit card balance. So the next thing I want to say is this: how is your credit score determined? These are the main metrics, but the Fair Isaac Corporation, it's also known as FICO. Fair Isaac Corporation creates the basis for your FICO score. Fair Isaac Corporation is, FICO is the shorthand for Fair Isaac Corporation. And there's something else you should know, and there's something called a soft pull and a hard pull. So a soft pull is when you check your own credit score. And some people are worried about checking their credit score because they think, because they've heard if you check your credit score, it can hurt your credit score. You don't want to check your credit score a lot because it hurts it. When you check your own credit score, you go through the credit rating agencies, and everybody, by the way, is entitled to get an annual free look at their credit score from the main credit score from the credit score rating agencies. You're all allowed to do that, but checking your own credit score does not hurt your credit score at all. That's known as a soft pull. Another soft pull is, let's say you want to rent an apartment. Or you get a new job and they want to check your credit score. Those kinds of credit pulls are not hard pulls. They're just like a cursory glance at your credit, but they're not really hard pulls on your credit. Okay. So go ahead, check your own credit score as often as you like. Check it right after you finish watching this, because you should know what your credit score is and what's in it. So the next kind of pull is a hard pull. So there's a soft pull and there's a hard pull. A hard pull will typically lower your credit score by 5 to 10 points. And a hard pull is when you apply for a new credit card, when you're applying for credit, an auto loan, a mortgage, for example, and those will lower your credit score by 5 to 10 points. But, and this is a big but, the credit rating agencies know that when you're shopping, for example, for a mortgage, you might talk to 3 or 4 different mortgage providers in a week or two, in a couple of weeks, and every one of them are going to pull your credit. When that happens, the credit rating agencies will recognize that as one hard pull, because as long as they see that the hard pulls are for the same kind of loan in a short amount of time, they recognize that as just one hard pull. So when you're shopping for mortgage, it's okay if a few companies check your credit score. Don't overdo it, of course, but that is known as a hard pull. And shopping for a car loan, for example, you're going to 3 or 4 different banks. It's okay as long as it's done in a short amount of time. The credit rating agencies will recognize that. Okay. It takes about 2 years for a hard pull to go off of your credit score. Okay. So I don't think too many people are having so many hard pulls in their credit that it's going to crush their credit score. But just so you know, that's one of the most common things that does drag down your credit score is a hard pull on your credit. Okay. A couple of other things. An increase in your credit score. Well, we actually spoke about that. A new credit card could lower the average age of your credit history, but it could lower your credit card utilization. So one way that a lot of credit experts suggest raising your credit score is to actually go out and get a new credit card and don't use it, because it'll lower your overall credit utilization rate. The bottom line, though, is also, let's talk about the last thing is getting rid of unused credit cards. This is tricky. If you have old credit cards, it often pays to leave them open. Sometimes people will ask, should I get rid of my old credit cards, close down the accounts? And the answer, more often than not, would surprise you. It's no, don't close them, leave them open, because the credit rating agencies will look upon you better when you have more credit that's unused and older credit. Okay. So if you have an old credit card, it's, let's say, your first credit card from 10 years or 20 years ago or something, you want to leave that open, because that helps lengthen the history of your credit history. Now, obviously, if there's it might not be obvious. One reason to get rid of an old credit card account is if it has a big annual fee. In that case, it might not be worth it to hold onto it. You could call the credit card company and negotiate with them and say, I'm interested in keeping this credit card, but I'm not interested in paying this big annual fee anymore. And then you could make up your mind. And if they're going to leave the fee the way it is, maybe in that case, it's worth getting rid of it. Okay. So that's one reason to keep old unused credit cards. You certainly want to be able to lock down your credit so no one can do theft, ID theft, credit theft, and hack your credit card account. So you certainly want to go to the credit rating agencies. I suggest this and lock down your credit. When you're going to be applying for new credit, you could always unlock your credit for a short amount of time and then lock it again. I also signed up with an agent with a company where I get alerts all the time if anything pops up on my credit, even on the dark web. And I suggest that you do something like that as well. So that is really about it. I hope that helps you with your understanding about how your credit score is determined. Sure, the higher, the better. I know some people would like to raise their credit scores and they're just not in a position to do that. So you just have to take steps to figure out what could you do first to maybe slowly raise your credit score, and expect that, not everybody raises their credit score overnight. Sometimes it could take a couple of years to do. I thank you for watching. I do see one person out there. Let's see what that is. That is Mike. Hey, Mike is out there. I've had the same credit cards forever. I really only use one. Is that good or bad? I think it's good. Short answer, I think it's good. The fact that you have multiple lines of credit open is a good thing. And as long you're not using it, so your credit utilization rates are not hurting. You've got that one credit card, you pay it off every month on time, and you have a lengthy credit history. I want to point this out, Mike, and to anyone else who's out there listening to this. One of the reasons it's bad to apply for a lot of credit cards at once, this is for credit cards, not mortgages, for credit cards, is because the credit rating agencies, they could see you as you're in a position of a cash crunch where, hey, this person's applying for like 10 credit cards right away. Maybe they're having a cash crunch, and not only are they applying for the credit cards, but they are about to blow it up with utilizing their credit, and maybe they're going to go bankrupt after that and stiff the credit card companies, and the credit rating agencies will see that, and they could say, you know what, we're lowering this person's credit score enough so that they can't get approved for these credit cards. So that's that. Love you, brother Mike. Thank you so much, but I really appreciate you watching always, and hope to see you in person very, very soon. All right. Thank you all for watching. I will be back on Monday. I'll be in my office tomorrow, but every Friday I do the my email blast, which I think is phenomenal. If you'd like to receive that, send me a DM and I'll put you on my list, and I will speak to you soon. See you Monday. So have a great weekend, everyone.